Okay, so now we saw that basically Bhagavad Gita is talking about the equation between you and Ishvara, right? So therefore you need to, in order to resolve the equation, you need to understand where the equation lies, right? So for example, if I say 6 minus 1 is equal to 3 plus 2, where does this equation resolve? In the 5, right?
Yeah.
5 is the point where there is a resolution. Now imagine if you don't understand that and you say, oh, since this is an equation, 6 minus 1 is equal to 3 plus 2, 6 is equal to 3 and plus is equal to minus and 1 is equal to 2. What will happen? It will be a huge error, right? So therefore, whenever there is an equation, you need to resolve it at the right point. The resolution is only at 5 when you solve the equation, right? In the apparent, there is difference. Okay, so therefore, if anybody is simplistic about what Vedanta is saying, they will start imagining what? That I am Ishvara. Okay? If I don't resolve it at the right point, I will start thinking that I am the cause of the whole universe, from which came time, space, every object within time and space, all the different laws which govern different objects. The objects themselves, they just resolve in that intelligence. So that means you start going crazy. Huh?
You become Radhima.
You become Radhima, absolutely. And in fact, it can be very gross. Okay, I mean that error still remains, but it becomes subtler. For example, any expectation that we have that a wise person will begin to have powers. What is the implicit assumption? Begin to have extra powers than an ordinary human being. What is an implicit assumption?
That was greater than the rest.
Exactly. Right? So that means certain attributes of Ishvara you start imputing on that person, right? So that means that there is so much confusion because you are not resolving that equation at the right point. So it's so important, that Ishvara does. Please don't misunderstand what Vedanta is saying. Okay, so in order to make that resolution very clear, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, they talked about Tvampada. Who are you? Right? And it starts with who you think you are. Who you think you are? This one little individual, okay, who's wanting to make sense of the world, who wants to live meaningfully in this world. So now from there, where did it take you? About your understanding of who you are to, which is what in Sanskrit we call it Vachyartha. Vachyartha means your immediate meaning. When I say I, what do I mean? What does everybody mean? Okay, from that Vachyartha, it took you to Lakshyartha. What is Lakshyartha? The intended meaning. Okay, and where did it take you?
And somebody who is part of this one whole, which is this,
excellent. Right? It took you to this awareness which is one whole, where there are no divisions, it's not limited by time and space. Okay? And that awareness, that which is self-evident to you, which you think is confined to the body and mind, or equivalent to that is 6 minus 1, we have arrived at 5. Yes? Taking you from there to the point of resolution. Okay? Now the next 6 chapters talked about Tatpada. What is this Tatpada? It has to look at the other side of the equation. Right? So it discussed the whole, the topic underwent a change. And what we talked about was Tatpada, which is Ishvara. Okay? Now, what is our normal understanding of Ishvara? Just as your normal understanding of yourself is this individual, your normal understanding of Ishvara is what?
There is a superpower somewhere.
Exactly. There is some superpower and you always away from you. It is somewhere else in time and space.
It is controlling you.
It is controlling you. Right? You are at the mercy of that power. What are the other assumptions that we have?
It is separate from us.
Excellent, right? The basic thing is that it is separate from
we
me.
are somewhere time bound.
Excellent, right? So that is something which is timeless in the sense that it has much bigger. It's much bigger in dimension than who I am, right? Because if the whole that means it is creating everything, and I'm only one of the little things which is created, and that also is going to go away, and so many different forms are going to emerge, and Ishvara is the cause of everything, and I'm just this little tiny dot, right? So this is our normal understanding of Ishvara. From there, where were you taken to? That particular mindset that we have, we were the whole teaching from chapter 6 to 12 made us change that understanding of what Ishvara is. Okay, from that vague understanding to what Vedas or Bhagavad Gita say is Ishvara. What did we see was Ishvara?
Potential energy.
Excellent. Okay, so what is this very good about Ishvara is that
Needs and the strength.
excellent, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful, right? So there were examples given. We saw what is Ishvara through different verses of the Gita. So if you remember the verses of the Gita, then it is very easy to understand what we saw about Gita, about Ishvara in Gita. As Arna says, basically it says that Lord Krishna says that I am like the string which puts together all the beads. Right? Now, if you look at that, that's an analogy, right? So what does it mean? What does these beads, what do they mean?
Everything in the universe.
Exactly.
And the string is the laws that govern it.
Excellent, right? So these beads are every object in the universe. And that object can be human beings, so we are all connected. It can be all the animals. So not only the animals are connected within themselves, but even human beings are connected to animals, right? Then you can actually expand the meaning and say all the planets, right? All the solar system, galaxies, the whole thing are all the different beads, and then we are all connected. Right? So that means what those beads are, you can give different meaning depending upon what you understand about everything. Because everything is a very all-encompassing word, but it is also a very vague word. Because it's a very easy thing, you feel that you understand that everything, but actually if you don't concretize what is everything, then the meaning still escapes you. You think you understand, but you still don't know how to apply this so-called everything. Okay, so now how do I know that I'm connected to the star? How?
See it, it gives me joy to see it.
Okay.
So there are various, I know it's there, and I know that there are certain magnetic forces maybe that are pulling on.
Magnetic forces, physical laws, in a way that the whole galaxy is moving continuously and everything is moving at a very high speed. And not only that, they are moving, but they are also moving around their own axis, and still things don't collide, and it just continues for millennia. Right? So therefore there are forces which connect me to the star that I may not even know that it exists. So this is what we call the thread, which connects us all, whether we know it or not. It doesn't depend upon our knowing. It is already doing its job. Right? So that means now your understanding of Ishvara it is like a thread. The very next verse, what does it talk about Ishvara as being? No problem.
This is Neelu and Rishi at Camp.
Yeah, of course, please, very welcome.
There's a back, yes.
Okay, So that means you think, now imagine you re-understand Ishvara as laws which govern us, then the assumption that it is somewhere away from you, that it is somebody out there which is controlling my life, all those assumptions fall apart naturally, because you re-understand what is Ishvara. The problem is that we have been thinking about that Ishvara for so long that even if you understand in one class what Vedanta is saying, you think you completely shift? No. Your orientation continues to remain. That's why you need to reinforce that whole until the teaching becomes natural. So makes us revise our understanding of Ishvara. Ishvara is in form of all the laws which puts together everything in the universe. If you revise this definition, who can deny the existence of Ishvara? It doesn't become belief anymore.
Can I just ask you one thing? See, are you saying that Ishvara, when you think of Ishvara, you think of the laws? Or
Now,
is Ishvara the laws?
Okay, so that's why there are number of verses which are talking about what is Ishvara. So we move to the next verses, because otherwise you will walk away thinking Ishvara is only the laws. So it's not only the laws, right? So
it puts together everything.
it puts together. It is
It's also the beat, so it's also every object.
exactly.
So
What did you say? Ishwar is also the
every object that is governed by it.
Yeah.
So that means then to look in terms of the verses, then it will become very clear, right? So this is your first thing that is discussed, to give up, for you to give up this idea that Ishvara is away from me, it is at some place. You make it something which is all pervasive and which governs everything in this universe. But then you may walk away thinking that that's all Ishvara is. So then the next verse further refines that understanding. So this is how your thinking is taken from one. So the second step is, as Arnaz is saying, don't think about Ishvara as only the string, it is also the beads. That is huge.
What is the logical connection between the awareness and the object then?
So let's not,
How do you sync those?
See, right now what I'm saying is, first 6 chapters, what did they do?
Yeah, you're logically
Right?
telling us
I'm
what
just
we've done.
logically saying what we have done, because if you try to solve all the equation, you'll get confused. What we just have to follow the text and see what we have done. Yes, because then the whole thing will be unfolded. Then, so that means the objects, why do you say they are also Ishvara? Why? Why the objects, not only the laws, but also the objects are Ishvara? Why? Because you have to make an...
So the objects are made up of the laws?
Excellent,
they're
right?
equal. Everything is equal.
Okay, you need to dwell upon it a little bit. One thing Gopi is saying is absolutely right. These laws are not external, right? So that means that this very body, the laws, right? All the cells are put together according to, not just randomly, those laws which seem to be outside, they also exist here in this body. The physical laws exist in the body, which put together the biological laws exist in the body itself.
So it is simultaneous, that comes through.
So that means don't think about this Ishvara as something which is outside, because generally our orientation is the laws are only outside and they are governing us. We ourselves, the whole body is nothing but what? The minutest particles which are governed by series of laws. Laws of physics, laws of biology, laws of physiology, laws of psychology. It is just nothing but what? Manifestation of all these different
So
laws.
we are the laws also.
No, let's
No,
first.
we're talking about Ishvara.
Yeah,
Ishvara
yeah.
is the laws and Ishvara is the objects, including down to particle matter.
Exactly. See, now here the topic is Ishvara. So you are not the laws. You didn't create the laws. You didn't, the laws of physics, you go to school for so many years and you still don't understand in totality what all the laws are. Don't start, this is what I'm saying, you know, Vedanta is, one has to be very clear what you are saying, otherwise you mix up things and that is a huge
We
myth.
started this class with the basic equation, which is what the Gita is exploring, between you and the universe.
Yeah.
So we talked about you through verses being conclusive that you are awareness, which is part of a larger one awareness.
Yeah.
And now we're discussing what the universe is.
The cause of the
Which is
universe.
The cause of the universe, which is the
Ishvara.
laws and the objects and everything that
It's
is.
Ishvara.
Yeah. When I say we are the laws, I don't mean like, you know, proudly we are the laws, but are we an expression
Yes, exactly.
of the laws?
Yes.
So in that way,
Yes.
there is a connect.
Yes, there is a connect in the sense that, yeah, of course there is a connect, exactly. So that means if you understand, what meaning I give it to it all will come a little bit later. First, just try to understand what Gita is saying, then you put it all in picture. Because if you simultaneously do all this, a lot of information and lot of putting together, then it all becomes a little confused. Right? So just go step by step and follow the logic, because when there is a teaching, when you go to quantum physics class, you can't understand everything in the first class. There is a logical development of the subject matter which leads you to discover a few things, and you have to follow the logic. If you try to put together everything at the first class, load. So this teaching is a very evolved teaching. You just stay with the teaching and try to see what it says, understand each part accurately, and then the connection of one part with the other part is also taken care of by the teaching. But if you do it prematurely, what happens is that it all becomes like a huge mess in your thinking. So therefore, just try to follow the logic of Gita. Because we are very fast and we want to put it all together very quickly. And we want to make sense of the whole thing just like the first time, but give it a time.
It's not something that will just happen like an aha moment. So now I've got it. Now I don't have it, now I've got it.
Yeah? Because even now, when I rethink about it, really I begin to see how much I may not have seen earlier. It may seem as though I understood when it was told, but later on I realized you need to give it this vision a time. Exactly.
You look at this and you first see something, the big picture, and then it's only when you look again and again that you see the details and how they are connected.
Exactly.
To the picture.
Right? So that means one has to, I feel that we have to have a certain amount of leisure. To look into realities requires leisure. Because you are not going to be able to figure everything out like in one class. It's impossible. But every part and the nuances of that part are so important to understand accurately, because they form part of that whole vision. So if I understand that part without wanting to connect it to everything else, that will actually help me to understand the whole vision over a period of time much better. Okay, so now what we saw is, why is Ishvara also in the forms, as Gopi is saying, it's also in the forms because they are all manifesting here themselves. So it becomes not just a belief. It's not because Gita is saying that Ishvara pervades everything, therefore Ishvara pervades everything. I understand. It's true. There is something which connects my body, different parts of my body together through various laws, which makes it work in an intelligent manner. Who can deny that? Nobody can deny that. Okay? And there is also an intelligence which puts together different parts in your body together. So it works in an intelligent manner, and also that there is a similarity between one human body and the second human body. Who can deny that?
You can't deny that. Logic. This is logic.
It's logic. Ishvara is just logic. It's nothing to do with belief.
Not blind faith.
It's not blind faith. Take out all these notions that we have about this. Ishvara means, oh yeah, it is something which is, oh, you can never prove it. You can never prove it if you think that it is an entity sitting out there. We define Ishvara in keeping with what Ishvara is. It just becomes matter of understanding. Okay. Now, what is very interesting is all the medical doctors, right? The medicines that you take today, okay, where are they tested? They are clinical trials. Where are they tested? On animals, right? So that means not only the laws which pervade and which put together my body, the same laws pervade and put together that form, which is a very different form. Where do you do all the experiments on rat and frog and all kinds of, things? So that means those laws, they also govern. Okay, that's why there is a connection. Even though there are differences, there are connections. The whole medical science is based on what?
Plants, medicines are made from.
Exactly. Right? So that means every body in this universe, no matter how different it is, it's somehow governed by the same laws. So that means those laws pervade every body. Okay? Then you think, okay, it pervades only the living beings. Then you go to what living beings means, all the sentient beings which are like moving. Then as Roshni says, even the plant kingdom. Does it not pervade the plant kingdom? How that whole the animals or the living beings require, where is that food coming from?
From plants.
From plants. Ultimately the plants,
The whole food chain.
right? The whole, the first,
To survive.
exactly.
So that connects us to the solar system.
Excellent.
Yes, the whole food chain, however high in the order you are.
You are,
Eventually you're dependent.
eventually you're dependent upon plant kingdom. Right? So the same intelligence has not only created beings, starting from what? Small insects to birds to reptiles, right? To single cellular organism, okay? Or multiple cellular organisms, okay? Then aquatic creatures, birds, animals, human beings. It pervades, that intelligence pervades every form like that, but also the plant kingdom, because it has arranged the world in a way that those forms require food, and that food comes from plants. Okay, all the different somebody has now joined Sophia College for nutrition. So that means that they break down all your nutritional requirements in kind of, I don't know how many different vitamin A and B, and then B1 and to B12, and then D, and then E, and then, I mean, you go crazy what all we need in order for us to survive, and everything is available in plant kingdom.
And whenever the humans try to fiddle around with it, they have now
They disturb.
discovered that, for example, wheat, which is supposed to have certain things, even these vitamins, they take out one vitamin B12, and they're discovering that for the vitamin B12 to work optimally, you need other little things which they're not even aware of. What
see.
is in that plant?
Exactly.
And now the whole world is suffering from gluten allergy. And the reason is that they have fiddled around with the wheat and they have increased the gluten 3 times what it was. The whole world is now suffering. So many people suffer from gluten allergy. So, we really don't know. And it's again what you're saying, that it is governed by laws. So there's certain laws. And the combination is such.
Exactly. It's all put together.
It is such
Right?
a fine balance that if you try to
Tip it, you go off.
Yeah.
And it's already come like that. So that is that intelligence which is Ishvara. Right? that intelligence which has put it together in such an intricate manner that we think we are so smart and we try to fiddle with it, we actually mess up the whole balance. So it's already there. We think we are, sometimes we are, and at times when we are going along with that intelligence, when we are improving, I mean we have potential and we discover things, right? And at times we greatly disturb the balance. This is how you understand that it's not just because Gita is saying it is true, this is how reality is. Okay? Then, as Roshni very rightly said, that plant kingdom, where does it derive its energy? From the sun. So now that intelligence, you think that intelligence pervades only in things which are what we think are living.
Water.
Right? Water.
Air.
Air. Right? So that intelligence pervades in what we call inert things also. Right? Because even though the sun is what, nothing but gas, what if you look at what is it? Hydrogen gas. Right? But what we see is what? It's not just hydrogen gas randomly, just emitting gas. The position of that sun with reference to the earth is something which actually is the key, because if it was a little closer, what will happen? The earth will
That's why there's no life
destroy.
possible.
Exactly. And if it is little farther, then also there is no life possible. Staying there, it provides the necessary energy to the plant to be able to give you all these different list of things that you need for your survival. So that means that your understanding of that intelligence which is Ishvara also pervades what? The solar system, the planets, the sun, the moon, the galaxies. So now this is how you see that intelligence, it's not just the string which puts together different beads, but it is also what? The beads. All the different beads, they are intelligent within themselves and they are connected. Where is there not Ishvara? Okay, so now you think that you have really understood that that Ishvara pervades everything. Okay, now the Gita and the Upanishads want you to go one step further. This is where you are taken from step to step. Okay, every time you start with one thing, you understand it completely and you think that this is over, then you are shown what? No, this is true, but you need to now understand something else. Okay, so now you think anything is remaining in your understanding. What do you think? Everything is covered about what is. Okay, now this is very good, Roshni. Okay, so every object exists within time and space, and every object now you understand is Ishvara, is that intelligence, and the laws which put together different objects are also Ishvara. What about time and space? What is the relationship of Ishvara, the intelligence, with time and space?
The fact that this intelligence exists, there is no question of time and space. It's just there.
It's a
Excellent.
before time and beyond space. Yeah.
Yeah.
It cannot not exist at any time.
Excellent.
Yeah, it has to exist at all times. And therefore, time doesn't make any. It doesn't matter to
Oh, so
Ishvara.
that's the connect. The
Doesn't matter to
time and
Ishvara.
space is what connects the awareness and Ishvara.
Okay, now she is thinking about all. That's true, but we have to come to it after a much longer time, right? Now, the first thing is physics helps Vedanta. Okay, for a very long time, time and space is absolute, and everything exists within time and space and is changing. Okay. It was Einstein who discovered the fact that time and space itself is relative. Okay? And when he discovered that, he himself was so shocked that he made this statement that the ground on which I am standing is beginning to shake. Because what humanity believed for a very long time, right, was now he saw it very clearly. He didn't have any agenda, he was only looking into reality. And he discovered something which was undeniable, and he said, oh my God, the whole paradigm shifted. The whole paradigm shifted for now, but the rishis knew the relativity of time, and I will show you how. Okay. Now, how did he prove? I mean, there are there are mathematical proofs of relativity of time and space. But first, let's look at how do I understand the relativity of time and space in a common day-to-day living. What does it mean to me? What does it mean when I say that time and space is relative?
I mean, it's obvious, when we are waiting for somebody, the time doesn't pass quickly, but when we're having fun, it gets fast.
Okay, so it starts with a very simple experience. There is a very nice little book on theory of relativity and what is complex mathematics, right? Easy. So the first thing starts by what exactly Bela is saying, that you are at a coffee shop, right, and you're waiting for a friend, and then the friend arrives, let's say in 10 minutes, and what do you say? I've been waiting for you for ages, right? It seemed like a very, very long time, right? But actually it's 5 minutes. Okay, and then sometimes when you're having fun and days pass and it seems like what? Oh my God. Exactly. 5 days are over. Like this is what exactly Arnaz was saying, that we went for a birthday party of Gopi, and it's like, my God, it's over. So this is how it is. So that means
always saying every year in the end of the year how quickly it's gone.
Right.
It's been a bad year. Oh God, it is so relative.
So that means the way we experience time is relative. We think it's one standard unit, but actually the way we experience it is different. But that's a first level. There is a second level. Okay, here the unit of time remains constant for all of us. It is our experience is changing. In the other case, the very unit of time is different. How? There was a study of twins. You must know about it, right? The space travel of there are twins. One stays on this earth and the other goes on space travel. Okay, and after 15 years of earth time, that person who's traveling in the space comes back. Both of them have not aged equally. So that means when you live the atmosphere, the way the time operates is different. The very unit of time changes completely. Okay, so this is what we call relativity of time. There is no one stand. Exactly.
That is why
The unit has changed.
The unit has changed. The very
Our day and night is what
Exactly.
is our unit of time.
And when you go outside that earth hemisphere, the whole thing, right? So this is what is meant by relativity of time. So that means itself is something which is not absolute, it's only a framework. So that means there is an intelligence which is governing how time is going to be experienced on this earth, and how time is going to be experienced when you leave this hemisphere. That is that intelligence which governs the time. As Bela says, it governs, it's the cause of time, it is not subject to time. Yes.
Here and there.
So that means it governs the time here and it governs the time there, right? Differently, but that intelligence is there. Which is going to see that when I go outside, what is the time? And in fact, as Einstein discovered it, it actually depends upon the speed at which you are traveling in the universe.
So it's connected.
It's connected to space. the way you're going to experience it time, you can't, people can predict it. This is why these NASA sent satellites, to the space, because they know exactly how it is going, what speed has
to leave the
to,
atmosphere.
exactly, because it's governed by that intelligence. That is Ishvara. It's going to say it's not going to behave like this, but if it is not going to behave like this, how is it going to behave? There are laws. It's not just random. So that is what we call Ishvara. Okay, so that means Ishvara is now what? The one which governs the time and not subject to time. Right? So, and space is exactly the same, because time and space framework is something which is what? Interlinked and interconnected. One simple way to understand, because generally we understand this space in terms of the distance, right? So when I say what is the distance between I and Gopi, what is the distance? How many feet? Let's say 8 feet or 6 feet, right? Now it is that Gopi has a location in space which is this point, and I have a location in space which is that point, and then what is the distance between that location in space and this location in space? So that means every understanding of the distance is all within what? Spatial. It's a spatial. It's a spatial concept, right? Now the magic starts. The magic starts because this 8 feet, right? This feet is something which is what? It's just a unit. It's a random unit that I have. That I have just said 12 inches becomes 1 feet. I just give it a name, right? Now that 1 inch is also what?
We have decided.
Again,
Sat and decided.
If somebody sat and decided, it can be further broken down, and it can be further broken down. So it ultimately just becomes a concept, because we have just given random units and we've given them names. So that means that whole intelligence which is there, which is making that, okay, now even though they are all random, they still operate in what? A certain predict. Okay, so that means that intelligence is something which governs the distances. And if you go to physics a little bit further, then how many points exist within a finite line? Infinite. How can that means? What does it mean? That if I want to divide this thing, it goes on dividing further and further and further. So that means, how can infinite points create a finite distance?
This was something yesterday that I was saying. I wanted to be on the subsets of infinite. There are many subsets of infinite there are in that.
Yeah. Right? So that means there is again that intelligence. It makes it possible what? For the whole universe to govern in a certain fashion, where when you actually look into it, it's just impossible.
But actually these units, this whole measurement and all, it's just for us to simplify things.
Absolutely.
They're not
Absolutely.
absolute. They're not
So,
absolute.
so
measured in inches.
But time, 1 hour. What is an hour? I mean, it's something that we have said.
so
So just to
Exactly.
make our life simplify.
So that means the units are all, I mean, they have certain logic, but they are random, right? What is really there is the intelligence, which is setting it up in a way that you can create those units and you can go by it, and it is predictable. That intelligence is something which is the very basis of time and space. So Ishvara is not within time and space, it is what? That intelligence which creates that time and space within which all the objects and
Things around us so that we can
absolutely, that you can interact, right? Even hour is exactly the same. 1 hour, nothing but 60 minutes. It's just one name, 1 hour. 1 minute, 60 seconds. Just a name.
So what space will that be? Environment or the...
It is that which within
It permeates everything.
it permeates everything. Right? It permeates everything, but it's not absolute. So that means, and this particular fact that the time and space is relative, okay, Veda, the whole Gita is based on that, because it talks about this intelligence which is what? The very basis of time and space. Ishvara is the basis of time and space, without which the concept of time and space cannot exist. So it is something which is not subject to time and space, but it is from which the concept of time and space has come.
This concept of time and space can change, whereas Ishvara cannot change.
No, the intelligence is something which is there, which governs. So the units of time can change, but the intelligence which governs it doesn't change. Like the bodies change, right? The frog body is different from a rat body to different from a human body, but the intelligence which governs that how human body is designed, how rat body is designed, how frog body is designed, that intelligence is not subject to that form. It is free from that.
So that is why we pray to Ishvara.
Exactly.
So that all the laws and all the things can favor you.
Absolutely.
in what you
Right?
want.
The understanding, the presence of Ishvara in your life, which is there, which is governing everything. Imagine a life where you miss that presence. A presence which is so fundamental to everything in this universe, and in your awareness, you totally miss that presence.
Which is now it makes so much sense to understand at that level,
Understand
which is
why
why
we
we pray to the sun or to the wind.
Exactly.
We worship in tribal and culture.
Exactly.
All of this is part of our
It's
tradition.
exactly.
Because how water plays a role, and sun and time
And
of
then
day,
people
and
wanted to kind of personify Ishvara, which was silly, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that made it easier.
And it actually was the connection.
It's not in fact it's not even easier to connect, it's reality. Right? There is one reality which is the physical sun, there is another reality is what? Pray to the sun,
you're actually
praying to.
you're praying to that intelligence, which makes that sun what it is. When you're praying to the tree, you're praying to what? That intelligence which makes the tree what it is and makes it do what it does for me.
Just the realization that we are also interdependent, you know, and you thought of, you know, like a god who had a mouse as a, you know, who was also very important, and the birds were important and the trees were important.
Yeah,
and
but the important thing is that you can as well be praying to Gopi or to Nima or to Saku or to anybody, because it's all part of the
but
same.
to understand the intelligence of Gopi rather than,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
the body of Gopi.
intelligence that is, yeah.
so you're praying.
And this is why, in fact, what Arnaz is saying is right.
At all.
Into
You're praying to
everything.
person who's created.
Absolutely. In fact, the whole Vedic culture is also that. Why? Because when you meet somebody, you say Namaste. What is Namaste? Namaha te. Namaha means I salute. What do I salute? Not the body of Gopi or not the body. I salute that intelligence which is behind your body. So that means, yeah,
Namaste. So
Yeah.
Nama is
my salutations.
reverence.
Yeah.
Okay.
To te means that intelligence which makes, yeah, this is why you cannot exclude what? The appreciation of Ishvara in every interaction of yours. Understand what you are saying, and you really begin to see the intelligence which governs that name and that form.
The oneness.
Exactly.
The oneness.
You live oneness.
You know, the Shinto religion is
But
like
that's
where they go
Shinto
into
is
more ancestor worship.
and you would also trees. Yeah, because
Yeah, but that Ishvara, creator, what happens, Gopi, you think creator is somewhere away from you.
No, but he is really the creator because he has put together the laws.
Yes,
not he or that
the intelligence.
has put
Yes,
together the
this
laws,
is
has put
why.
together this.
So we are not saying who's saying that Ishvara. This is why Vedanta makes you see what Ishvara is,
Yeah.
right? We don't negate the bigger picture. You can't ignore
That is the creation.
the bigger picture.
But that is the creation.
The creator is the creation.
The creator
Is the creation.
Yeah.
So that is a different way of looking at things,
Here all these
right?
we never really understood that.
So,
The creator is the creation. One has heard this statement,
Yeah.
But what it meant, you don't know.
But unfortunately, a lot of the religions originally must have understood this concept, but either for like personal or to make it more accessible, have shifted our emphasis from that to
sort of
to names and rituals and things like that.
The power, I guess, the priests.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, what is important is now to see what the Vedic vision is, how it has deteriorated and degenerated. There is so much discussion and there are so many causes and you don't know. And all the other religions and their distortions, I mean, that is like endless topic. Here what we are trying to do is to all this, you're coming out of that. Right? You're beginning to see the world in a very different manner, and it is not based on belief, it is based on recognizing what is.
The facts.
Facts. Inquiry based.
Inquiry, yeah.
Facts. This is why the teacher of Vedanta is not preaching. Please understand. Is not giving you a discourse on kind of how you should be and how you should not be. This is all what we are used to. This is what all the humanity is used to. Vedanta is different. Makes you see things differently based on facts, realities. You interact with the world very differently. And the whole culture, this whole Vedic culture is based on this vision. The understanding and appreciation of Ishvara everywhere. Namahate. So that means what, as Arna says, it does not. It's not just about the waters and the air and the fire and the sun. It also includes every form and every day I do Namaste. Then people ask me, and when I went to the US, always people ask me, so what is this Indians, they put this little idea about Vedanta. So you know what you hear, all these very silly answers. Oh, married women put this, and you don't know anything. I mean, I said like, I don't know, or it's makeup, I don't know. You just give silly answers, right? Then when I came to Vedanta, it says, if you begin to see Ishvara in everything, you should not forget to see Ishvara where? In yourself. Every day you have to look at the mirror, and just as you adorn Ishvara, what you have to adorn yourself. And you have to say, I belong, that redness is that divinity, that I am pervaded by that divinity. If every day you remind yourself that that divinity pervades you, what is going to be your self-esteem?
Thank God, I didn't know this.
You are going to be what? That nurturing. Exactly. It is self-nurturing every day, because we have a certain orientation that we live with which we live in this world, and we totally forget to kind of nurture ourselves. Okay, and all the messages of growth are what? Oh yeah, you have to be kind to others. It's always like, yeah, you have to be giving, you have to be compassionate, you have to be all this, but there are hardly any messages of nurture yourself. Have a healthy self-image. Learn to, in a very nice way, somebody asked me this whole question in that other class about compassion. Okay, because there is so much talk in spiritual circle about compassion. So I gave the talk of compassion and they were floored. They were like, oh my God, they've never understood compassion like that. Because one thing is, next Tuesday.
Be compassionate towards yourself.
Exactly. Don't forget to include yourself. You have to be compassionate towards yourself. And that's why in every relationship there are boundaries. Boundaries, because if somebody, you can be very compassionate to violate your boundary, you have to what? Very politely put a stop to it. That is being compassionate towards yourself also.
So that also changes the way you live totally.
That changes the way, because you help. It's not that you are just self-centered, but not at the cost of, this so-called sacrifice.
You don't become a victim.
You don't become
an active participant in the relationship.
exactly. You become an active participant in a relationship. You don't become a victim. Very
Also
important.
much more self-sufficient.
I know that we all grew up with this, compassionate, give others and forget about yourself. But in this particular generation,
Yes.
they have gone just the other way.
Other extreme.
And
Exactly.
they are thinking it's become selfish.
Exactly.
So, and I think, even if they go,
Self-centered.
and even if they go for, because there are a lot of youngsters who are into spirituality, etc., but I think they do not understand
And
that
interpreting
even
it to suit
completely different.
selfish
And
need,
even the people who are imparting that knowledge are, using that self-centeredness instead of that nurture and
Nurture along with everyone
else.
else.
Because you always
Exactly.
said that you need to bring Ishvara into everything,
Yes.
including yourself.
Self.
So you can't
So-
just be
Yeah.
Ishvara yourself.
Exactly.
Without giving everything
Yeah.
else that equal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? So either you just pay attention to yourself or you pay attention only to others. So we have the way we interact with the world, we are bipolar. Okay? Either we only others and we always sacrifice ourselves. Okay? What Ishvara in everything means what? I can't, both are equally
Important.
exactly. Meaning of Ishvara pervading everything. Otherwise it's a partial understanding.
And in Buddhism also, one of the things that it says very clearly is help yourself,
Yes. Very
help
important.
others.
Yes.
It's all
It's
Like in the plane, they say, first wear one
Yeah,
mask.
that's
And
a
then-
perfect example.
that's a perfect
example.
Yes.
If you don't wear the mask yourself,
You're
how
not-
are you going to help somebody else? So
Yes.
be very,
Yeah.
Okay, now, so it's 10:30 and Roshni has to go.
It's 10.
But, it's 10? 10. Oh, it's 10. So how long do you need to? 5-10 minutes. Okay, great. Okay, so now you think that, then I'll talk about compassion very separately next time, because you must understand what compassion is. And it's not an advice. It's not an advice, be compassionate. It's whole analysis into compassion. And we will include neurosciences and everything. This is our whole new thing that we do, and that is a huge success. So that I will make you understand.
In
Yeah,
today's world, for all these reasons.
right. So now you think that you pretty much understood, because now you have included the presence of intelligence in time, space, objects, right, and the laws. And you think that you've understood everything. No. So then there is this word which is in the next verses we've seen. Okay, through this word Om, Ishvara is explained. Okay, now what does this Om mean? So in order to understand what Om means, this word Om comes from Sanskrit, and it is something where three words are coming together. Okay, A, U and Ma. Right? So now we've discussed this exactly. So we've seen this. We had one talk on this, right? So what do you remember about that? So now what does this definition of Om, what does it include to our existing definition of Om? Let me ask you that question, because if you really understood, you'll be able to answer this question. Now we have included the what? intelligence as the basis of time, space, objects and laws. Right? Now what does Om add to this definition? Let me think about it.
For next time.
Homework.
You told us so.
Yes, I've already told you.
Yeah, I've got
The past, the present,
Just
and
give
the
us
future, the
the-
causal.
Excellent. Now, okay, Gopi, go, go. Yes, good. She got it. Yeah. So now what? Now, Gopi, if you look into your notes, you'll find the whole answer.
So it connects the past, the present, and the future, and it's the cause and effect relationship. And therefore, the laws apply differently, and it's
It'll come back.
U and
No,
Ma.
but what is the for?
So now,
Earth's physical form, and O is the entire Sukshma universe. Ma is the causal.
excellent.
what is it?
Causal.
Okay.
Causal.
And the M?
Where are we going?
Ma is the causal.
Ma is the cause.
So the
Who is
physical
I've
system.
put it under chapter 8, but I don't know.
What's the second one?
The Vachya chapter, of Ishvara.
The subtle, the
Subtle.
physiological.
The subtle. Yeah.
So, until now, if you really think, we have only included what?
The physical.
The physical universe. The forms, when we say, we have included what? The physical forms. Okay. Now, what that is represented by Akara. So that means if you include the intelligence which pervades all physical forms, you have only come to what? Akara of Ishvara. You have missed out the Ukara and Makara, which is also Ishvara. Okay, so that means every time there is a physical form, there is something which is physical, and the other aspect is the subtle. Okay, so when you say subtle, generally in this modern day spirituality, people think that it is aura, right? But the Vedas are very down to earth. They mean something very practical when they mean subtle. What do they mean? They mean that there is one thing which is your physical eye, and there is other thing which is the capacity of your eyes to see. By looking at your physical eye, can I know the capacity of your eyes to see? No. Because I don't see it, it is subtle. Yes, it is included in subtle because just by your physical eye, I don't know what is the number, whether you have any number or not, and if so, what? Are you far-sighted? Are you short-sighted? I have no clue.
You said very nicely, Akara is what you can see and Ukara is what you can't see. That's
Exactly, the subtle. Subtle you can't see. What you can't see is what? You can see the physical ear. The physical ear of a person remains the same, but as the person ages, the capacity of that ear to looking at the physical ear, you can't tell.
So it's not metaphysical.
So therefore, it's not metaphysical. It's just subtle.
Subtle, right? Yeah.
That's
It's
why.
apparent or visible and beyond the visible.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
But beyond the visible, people make this.
Aura and all.
Exactly.
But
It's
in
not
a way,
that.
it's covered in the function, in the laws. So in a way, the laws sort of cover.
So
this.
that means
also
the
emotional
laws.
dance.
So exactly. So that means the intelligence. Exactly. That's what we are saying. The intelligence and laws not only govern the physical universe. The intelligence also governs the subtle.
And the subtle.
Sukshma.
I have a question. Like, for example, you were saying that the eye is physical, but the sukshma, if you look at someone's eyes, you can sometimes tell what the feelings are.
That is something which is actually, let's not make it something it's actually inference. Inference, because many times you have noticed right? That in fact there are some very interesting things that the scientists also do this study, right? They ask you a question and they look at your eyes. And just by looking at your eyes, they can tell whether you're telling the truth or not.
Yes.
Right? So it's an amazing thing, but actually it is based on inference.
Yeah, intelligence.
It is based on inference because they study the behavior, right, of so many. And they say that if you're telling the truth, your eyes remain shiny, they are not confused, they are not blinking, you're not looking here and there, right? And then when you're telling, so that means you're actually, it's a statistical kind of a correlation, right? So that means you're inferring based on certain observations. Okay? Oh, Roshni, you have to.
So, more subtle, could one say that it's that which is beyond the five senses?
No, I don't say that. In fact, it is that which gives the power to those five senses.
Which gives the power to the five senses.
It's not, if you imagine that it's beyond five senses, then you think that is something which is beyond, right? Mystical. It becomes mystical. Vedanta is not mystical. Vedanta is inquiry based, just understanding things. There is other thing which is the capacity of your eyes to see. It's not mystical.
Right.
It takes out this imaginary, we get into this imaginary, floaty mode, it takes it out. Okay. What would fall within subtle? Your mind. Because I don't know what thoughts are. I can infer by looking at your face, but I have no access to your thoughts. Only you have access to your thoughts. Right? So that's why the subtle includes what? The capacity of your five sense organs. It includes capacity of your mind. It includes what? Capacity of what we call pancha prana. Pancha prana means your inhalation, exhalation, then what? This excretion, digestion, circulatory system. Just by looking at you, I don't know. Right? So that is all part of what we call subtle. There is nothing esoteric about it.
I can find out if I want to.
Exactly. So that means you can. Exactly. So there are certain methods through which you can find out, but it's not something which is available it's a direct, readily available. That's why you need, it's not just
control it. In a lot of, to a certain extent, by exercise or whatever. See, subtle doesn't mean that it is totally beyond your control. Don't think so, right? It is obviously
just by virtue of mind and emotions, totally under your control.
They're not. So you have a certain say over them, right? So subtle does not mean that it is beyond your control. It just means that it's something which is not available to physical eye. But it's there. And it's not imagination. It's not esoteric. It's something which is there. So Ishvara, that intelligence, when you say it pervades everything, you cannot just include only the physical. What you need to do? You need to include, it pervades what? All the subtle. All the subtle functions. Now, if you really understand Ishvara like that, what does it mean? It means that you are thinking in a given way, your talents, your particular skills. Okay, even though a human brain is programmed generally, it has a range. It works within that range. It doesn't go beyond that range. Okay, but in spite of being that range, each one has a unique talent. There is no one brain in subtle function which is exactly the same as the other one. Look at the level of intelligence which is required to have some instrument operating within a certain range and within that infinite variations. That is what we call the. Okay, so this is where you begin to understand that Ishvara. If you really understand this, imagine how your life will change. Because everybody has this, okay, now these are all these theoretical things. How will my life change when I understand that infinite possibilities within a brain? If I really understand this, next time I see somebody better than me in something that I like, what is my general reaction?
Oh, she's so lucky. She can do it, I can't do it.
It reminds me of my smallness. Right? Oh, that person is, if you don't have value for it, you don't care. But if you have value for it, right? And if somebody has more of it, you immediately either become jealous or you become what? It reminds you of your smallness, so you feel no good, you feel inadequate.
You allow it to create a difference.
You allow that, exactly. Right? And then
know the true value of yourself, which, right, if you
no, I'm just analyzing and seeing how does your life change with different brains and their abilities.
So if you understand the fact that there's a reason why she may be better at this than me, either you will try and bridge that gap by using those same reasons. So she's practiced more, therefore she's better at dancing than I am, or whatever it is. So if I really want to get there, I must practice.
Exactly.
Not be jealous of her, not be angry at that person, but take yourself there.
So
because
absolutely.
you know your
So that means
There are certain limitations that you have. You have arthritis, you can't dance that much. You have to accept that I have arthritis, I can never dance that much. But I will still appreciate what she's doing and live with my limitations.
excellent, right? So that means this whole deficiency view of, the behind my looking at this whole thing, there is an implicit lack. And that lack manifests when I see somebody better than me. Okay? And there, if I understand that the whole world is an expression of that intelligence with varied combinations and permutations and all that, I can enjoy that beauty without feeling small about myself. I mean, that beauty is something that intelligence pervades everything, and it is manifesting in that beauty. Maybe, as Bela says, I'll never be able to be like this beautiful artist, professional artist. I'll never be able to dance like that. But does that, I can celebrate that somebody's ability to dance with that perfection and with that elegance and with that sense of aesthetics. I mean, I can enjoy it.
What helps here a lot more actually is the whole causal. In this acceptance,
yes.
I think the causal really is where than.
But even at a subtle level, where you say that all the brains are manifest, the possibilities. You're right. The causal
celebrate the beauty. In everything,
exactly.
Certainly.
Yes.
But
yeah, true.
So I think really the causal is what would give you that strength to accept these differences.
Yeah, that's true. It further strengthens.
The whole causal universe is what is giving you your place and time and your situations, and therefore you don't need to agitate over them because there are too many reasons that have created this. So
that's
you
true.
have no choice but to accept.
But also knowing you're subtle, knowing that you have the possibilities can make you think like that. Otherwise, if you felt inadequate, even though you know what the cause was, that I've got arthritis, you wouldn't have that, you wouldn't be empowered to accept this. But you've got possibilities in other ways. So it's...
I mean, I think...
Feel whole.
Exactly.
See,
absolutely. See, it's a shift in vision. It's a shift in vision. I mean, Ishvara pervades everything.
A lot.
A lot. So this is where I'm giving this practical example. I'm giving these examples to show how it changes the very fundamental assumption and the orientation with which we deal with the world. And it is very extremely profound. That shift is not a superficial shift. is not based on some kind of an advice. It is not positive thinking. It's based on re-understanding the realities.
I think understand the connectivity.
Yes.
The minute that
Connectivity is also very.
You can't go back. You can't go back.
Yeah, and if you go back, that means you never killed them.
Exactly. Right? Because it's a shift which is permanent because you've understood things differently.
And you know this compassion you're saying ever since we've been you've been talking about this connectivity. You know, I really feel like you says, how is your life changed? You know, wherever you go now, whether you see a dog on the street or you look at you realize first of all that you are connected to them. And that automatically changes your whole attitude and action.
Yes.
Affects everyday living.
True.
And your belief, more than
Yes.
even thinking, I think.
See, as I'm saying, it's not belief. Please don't think that it's a Ishvara is not a belief. It's just a matter of understanding.
You can understanding all the time or not.
Yeah, exactly.
You understood it. Once you may not bring it into your
Because you have a
everyday thinking.
previous orientation which is very strong, right? So that's why this whole life of alertness means that habitual, exactly, that you
consciously
breaking, exactly. That requires time and it requires effort. It requires a practice. Yes.
You know, we haven't had the classes for so long, and I must say you keep saying this, that the repetition is very important because you have to internalize it. You know, for myself, I must say that with this gap, I did sort of go out now and for the week.
Yes.
So I think this repetition is enormous.
It's enormously,
important. It really is.
Also, I think every day, even if you, I don't know, some reading, even a page or something,
Yeah.
just keeps you on
It
that
keeps
track.
you on that
Yeah,
track.
I think.
Absolutely.
And
And
she says you need that time. You have to give it
You-
that
That
Leisure.
leisure,
You
it's
have to
very
indulge
important.
in it.
Absolutely.
I think that's very important.
You have to
even I will tell you that I have been listening to Vedanta for so many years, and the days on which I teach and the days on which I don't teach, there is a difference.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm explicitly explaining, then there is, my mind is so much actively
fiber of your being is
expressing it. Absolutely. And I behave differently. Yeah, the expression very important. It's not just here, but it is expression is very important.
That's what you were saying. It's not just
So
like
it's
that.
not just like that. Absolutely. Ingrained in, exactly. You have to see this exactly. So this is why.
Break your own. I found it very difficult because I kept wanting to put what she said in my little compartments, the way I thought. Is this real? Is this physical? Is this, I think we literally have to break those
Yes.
barriers.
Yes. For teacher to enable you to unblock. I mean, all this. Yeah. And and do it compassionately so that you don't feel threatened, because in the process, when all your belief systems are getting questioned, it's not an easy thing. Okay, there is resistance and there is pain. So the teacher has to understand it, and the teacher has to let it all happen, and very gradually. Exactly. Absolutely.
I think it's the hardest thing.
It's the hardest thing.
See yourself
Yes.
totally. I don't mean it in literal sense.
Yeah.
Deconstructed.
Yeah.
Sort of,
Yeah.
Totally, and then be able to see it and say, okay,
Yeah.
this has been me that I need to change.
Exactly.
It's so difficult.
It's so difficult. Absolutely.
Like now is also food, deconstructed food.
Yeah.
So
Are you going to
I will
connect the
start.
awareness now?
So no. Now it is too much, because anyway, then Om also includes not the subtle, but Makara includes the causal. Okay. Now I will talk a little bit about that next time, but I'm not connecting yet, because in fact there is a lot to come. Yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.